It's Gord. Yeah, welcome to my big fat Russian wedding. I thought about this for a long time. Although my marriage didn't work out, the the wedding was a very very interesting and intriguing part of my life that I will never forget. And I thought I'd share it with you guys. And although it's, one thing that I want to really ram home here is I believe in good memories. We all have memories. Memories are what they were when they happened. I've heard so many people say, "Oh, I wish things had worked out there. Then those memories might have been nicer." The memories are what you make of them. I still have beautiful, beautiful memories of my wedding. Just because she turned out to have taken me for a loop doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy those days. It doesn't change those days. Those days were enjoyable then. I was oblivious to what was really happening to me, how I was having my life taken apart. Doesn't matter. So, why do I think it's kind of neat to? Oh, by the way, in my Gandalf here is Matanuska Thunderfuck, one of my favorite sativas. Cheers. And why would I bother stealing the line from my big fat Greek from my big fat Greek wedding to talk to you about just getting married? Well, you know, Russian weddings are unique. You think a Greek wedding is unique, Russians, I think, take it a step further. So I'm going to walk you all through it. They told me before I got married in Riga, Latvia. The, Riga is the capital of Latvia, a city of about 2 million people, 50-50 Russian, Latvian, a unique city. Currently, right now, kind of a little overrun with U.S. soldiers. The United Nations is kind of taking over the Baltics in preparation, I think, for a world war. But meanwhile, a decade ago, and 6 months, because it was November of 2005, I was preparing to go to Latvia to get married. That toke was a bit strong. To prepare my current ex had told me to bring as much change as I can, buy a couple of bottles of really expensive liquor, and some cheap wine. So I brought that kind of stuff with me. And then, of course, while I was in Latvia, I got more change. You'll find out why. And more alcohol. And I had a couple of bundles of gifts, money and booze, and their name for money, Russian name for money, is dingy. So I the night before the wedding, I had a best man who was not my best man. It was her girlfriend, Annie. She came and got Olga from our apartment and took her away. I'm not allowed to see her the day before, but I'm allowed to see her day of. Anyways, long story. So, spend my first evening in a European city by myself in a very strange apartment that, believe me, I wouldn't even go into the hallways. I really wouldn't have. Wake up the next day to Annie coming and getting me when I'm ready. and my 2 baskets of goodies. And then we parked outside the church. The church was at one end of the road. At the very other end of the road, maybe a block and a half down, was the reception area, which was her parents had rented out a restaurant. The owner of the restaurant being a doctor. That comes into play. It was unique. I was parked along the roadway and I was told to just wait, and it was cold and I'm shivering and I'm waiting. I mean, it's November in Latvia. And then they come to me and say, "Are you ready to go get your wife to get married?" Now, I don't know any of their traditions except that she told me that I would be brought to the reception area to pick her up and bring her to the church, and that many people, whether they know me or don't know me, will try to stop me from getting her. So, and I had to bribe my way in, as well as I would be faced with many what they call concours, which is a challenge. And I have to pass the challenges, I have to pay my way. If I don't pass the challenge, I got to pay extra, all that kind of stuff. So I get in front of this reception hall, and it's just covered with people. And you got to remember, I knew nobody. I knew 3 of her girlfriends and her parents. I couldn't see her. I could see inside the restaurant, and it was just full of people, easily 50, 60 people inside of it, all watching me. And I go start walking in, and her girlfriend stopped me, and they say, no, what are you doing? And I said, I'm picking up my wife. And only a few of them spoke English, but thank goodness for the translations. No, you can't get Olga. You can't get her. You don't deserve it. And then they stopped somebody on the middle of the street. Somebody didn't know any of us, but they know these traditions. And they said, should we let this Canadian man marry the girl in there? No, I don't think so. And so I had to pay this stranger. I said, you got to tell them yes. And she just put her hand out. Dingy. So I gave her some of the coins. She said, yes, let him go. So I got one step further. And then more people in the way, and pay them off. And then one step further, I finally get close to the front of the reception hall. And then it's her best girlfriend. And that one I had to pay off with a bottle. Then I got inside. Inside, the challenges started. I found out later I was lucky that the challenges are usually a lot harder. First, they came up with a placard, a poster, with 12 different lip marks on it, kiss marks. And I had to pick my wife's. I picked wrong. It cost me a bottle of wine and a couple more rubles, or centums. It was Latvian money. Yeah, centums. Cost me more centums. So I failed that concours. I come to the next one, and her girlfriends ask me why I want to marry her, and I say because she's beautiful, because I love her, and all that kind of stuff. And then they ask me, I think it was 12 questions about her. I passed them all. And she looked kind of disappointed that she wanted me to fail, because then she gets something. So I bribed her anyway. And then I get a little further. I was running out of everything, but I kept, of course, the very important stuff for last. There was a couple more challenges. Can't remember them all. Then I come up to Mom and Dad. Her Mom and Dad. Mom cost a bottle of wine. Dad cost a bottle of Napoleon brandy and a bottle of Canadian whiskey, and pretty well the rest of my money. Then finally, oh, and one of the challenges that I had been given was before I could get Olga, I had to, no, when I got Olga, once I gave me Olga, I would have to hold up this poster that said, Ja lublю Olenku, which means I love Olga. And I had to scream that, yell it, top of my lungs, all the way walking to the church. That was one of the challenges. Then finally they bring out Olga, and I remember her looking so very, very beautiful. It was interesting. You know, we aren't even married yet, but there she is on my arm. And we start heading out, and I pick up the placard, and there I am in minus 10, minus 15 degrees, just in a jacket, my soon-to-be wife just in a dress, walking down the Latvian streets, screaming at the top of our lungs. Horns are going off. People understand. Then we get to our round church, a easily 600-year-old round, gorgeous, beautiful church. And you get inside, and the sound of the choir singing, and the priests don't speak, they sing, and they sing in Old Slavic. It was moving, to say the least. Then, as the wedding ended, again, no English, we go back to the reception hall, and then shit hits the fan. They just put us through challenge after challenge, games like crazy. I can't remember them all, but each one had the design, and that whoever won it, there was one, whoever found the most money inside their rice would be the financial manager of the couple. So lots and lots of things like that. It was rather interesting. And then I remember, and this was the big one, another cheers. Somebody dressed like kitchen staff, because the kitchen was in the basement of this restaurant, and we had the whole restaurant. Kitchen staff came up to my wife and said something in Russian, and "Иди сюда," come here. And she's looking at me, and should I go? And I said, what's going on? Well, they want me to look at the cake. And I said, go, do what you gotta do. And then I never saw her again. It's like 20 minutes. I go walking around. I find Annie, her best friend and my translator, and Annie helps me. We go downstairs, and we see the girl, and she stops me, and she says, "No, you no see Olga. She's gone." Then I remembered Ola saying that one of their traditions is to steal the wife, to teach the man to never let her go. And but also, I'm a hardworking Canadian guy who just flew their first class, and everyone knows that. So part of me is wondering, is my wife gone, or is there something else afoot? I tried to get past her in the basement, couldn't, went back upstairs. Then Annie told me, "That's your wife, you go find her." And then her dad came with me, and Vlad and I, Vladislav Haroshelov, and me, started searching for her. Went down into the basement, all through the kitchen, couldn't find anything. Came back upstairs, went outside, up and down the streets, couldn't see anything. Starting to get rather worried. Was actually quite worried. And, you know, everybody else, they're drunk by now, and I don't drink. So I was not having a good time. I was covered in sweat, running everywhere, trying to figure out what's going on, and nobody speaks my language. So I finally I go back and I just keep remembering her going down to the kitchen. So I go back to the kitchen and they're all sitting around eating some of the leftover food or whatever, having their meal. And then I notice a door in the corner, and so I go to that door and they try to stop me, and I get to the door and I open it. It leads into a hall in the back. Most European buildings are all connected. It's one big building made to look like many small ones, and then the back is usually the connector. So I was in the connector and I started hollering out, and I could hear a little voice, and I go running down this thing, and I go about 3 buildings away, and there's a circular stairway, and I hear something at the top, and I call out, "Olga," and I hear, I ran 6 flights straight up, circular stairway. And when I got up there she was, tied up to a chair, all for fun. And I got my wife back. It was interesting. It was interesting, to say the least. That was to teach me to never let her go and never believe others when they tried to take her from me. I guess I didn't learn that lesson very well. Cheers. I'm putting together, as we speak, I'm putting together yesterday's walk and talk. I did a couple. That's coming to you. I hope you enjoyed this. Just a little something I thought about during the night that I do my big fat Russian wedding. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. I will be posting more today. If my delivery shows up, I may even be doing an unboxing. It was supposed to be here yesterday, still not. Peace and cheers, love and harmony.